September
The heart rate is
1987,
stable.
inside the
Oxygen
walls of
levels are
John
holding.
Hopkins
The vet is
Hospital,
monitoring him.
a clock was
Yes,
ticking
doctor.
down to a medical execution. Two 7-month-old boys, Patrick and Benjamin Binder, were joined at the back of the head. For months, the world's greatest surgeons had shaken their heads. To separate them meant one or both would bleed to death on the table. It was an impossible riddle. But heading the surgical team was a 36-year-old black neurosurgeon who was no stranger to impossible battles. Decades earlier, people predicted he would end up dead or in prison. They didn't know that the hands holding the scalpel had been molded by a mother's fierce prayer and a divine transformation. This is the story of Dr. Ben Carson and the 22-hour miracle that shocked global medicine. To understand the miracle in the operating room, we have to travel back to the rough streets of Detroit in 1960. Now, young Ben Carson was not a prodigy, he was the class dummy, failing his grades and carrying a terrifying, uncontrollable rage. His temper was a ticking time bomb. One afternoon, over a trivial argument about a radio station, 14-year-old Ben snapped. He drew a metal and lunged at his friend, plunging the blade straight towards his stomach. By what can only be called a miracle, the blade struck the friend's heavy metal belt buckle and snapped in half. Horrified by what he had almost done, Ben began to weep. He fell on his knees with a Bible, crying out to God for hours, begging him to take away the monster inside him. That night, the boy with the lethal temper died, and a vessel of healing was born. From that day on, Ben's mind opened. Fueled by his mother's rule of reading 2 library books a week, he went from the bottom of his class to Yale, and eventually he became the youngest chief of pediatric neurosurgery in the United States. He became known for taking on cases other doctors deemed hopeless. But the Bandit twins were his ultimate mountain. For 5 months, Carson studied medical charts, looking for a way to stop the fatal bleeding that occurred when separating the massive shared vein in the baby's heads. The answer didn't come from a medical textbook. It came during a moment of quiet prayer. Carson realized he had to do something radical. He had to completely stop the baby's hearts. The day of the surgery arrived. A team of 70 doctors and nurses packed into the operating room. The stakes were absolute. Carson ordered the baby's body temperatures to be dropped to 68 degrees. Their blood stopped flowing. Their hearts went completely silent. They were clinically dead, actually. Carson had exactly 60 minutes to separate the twins and reconstruct their skull veins before irreversible brain damage set in. The room was deadly quiet, except for the ticking of the wall clock. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes. With sweat pouring down his face and his fingers moving with supernatural precision, Carson made the final cut. The hearts were restarted. The blood began to pump. For the first time in human history, twins joined at the head had both survived the separation. Dr. Ben Carson went on to save thousands of children, proving that your background does not determine your destiny, and that God can turn a weapon of destruction into hands of global impact. If you're facing a situation in your life right now that looks completely dead or impossible, remember the God who directed the scalpel in 1987. He is still very much alive and interested in changing your story. So do you believe God can transform your biggest struggle into your greatest miracle? If you do, please type I believe in the comment section below and subscribe to TCI Studio for more incredible stories of faith and triumph. Until next time, see ya.